Senator,
and that is a time
that's sophistry. Your example on Kraft. Your example on Kraft is even worse.
You finished first. In any of the states around the country that already have price gouging laws in place.
Can I tell you why those are fallacious and misleading at best? And your Kraft analogy is even. Why can't I tell you? Please let me tell you. Kraft, you say, was 440% profit increase. The example you used, the prior quarter from the year before, they had a charge of $1.3 billion, an accounting change which wiped out profits. Then they earned what they normally.
Let
me finish now. They earned.
You didn't let me finish. Look at the data. Come on. We have economic study now after economic study.
This is the way it always goes.
When there is more concentration,
40 million eggs were destroyed because of avian flu.
When there is more concentration in an industry, we have seen much greater increases in
Do you attribute the inflation?
Markets.
That's what you think we need to do to solve it?
They're not random. They are not random one-offs. It is part of the problem when you've got companies that are gouging consumers on prices. Consumers need to know they've got somebody on their side.
Senator,
and
listen, we're trying to help. We're trying to actually do.
Where are you in the 37 states that currently have price gouging laws?
Just quickly on that point, Senator Warren, can you just Kelly here? Can I just clarify how this would work?
This is the way you never lose an argument because no one can ever say anything back to you, Senator.
The state price gouging laws take a.
All right, guys. So once again, we got to talk about another mainstream liberal media news anchor getting upset with the Democrats for having the cojones to come on their show and to push Kamala Harris's economic policies that are pure and total garbage based off lies. Okay, I mean, Kamala Harris has basically gone full-blown communist, proposing price controls, and this is so insane that even the mainstream liberal media is not getting on board with this, right? They're like, nah. We cannot get on board with this. We cannot support this, okay? We cannot be associated with this. And this time we have to react to Joe Kernen, who I reacted to yesterday, by the way, going off on another Democrat about Kamala Harris's policies. But this time we have Elizabeth Warren, okay? And she's going to try Joe Kernen with the BS. And I want to react to it because I love these beatdowns of the Democrats by the mainstream liberal media, because Democrats really believe that they can get away with pushing anything on anybody. And it's about time that they learn that no. There's some things that you push that are just too extreme for even your propagandists to get on board with.
Look at the Washington Post. And if you lose the Washington Post as a Democrat, you got some serious problems. This is what they said about the price gouging or the price control legislation. It was really pilloried from both sides of the aisle. Even Jason Furman, I don't know if you saw some of his comments. He said it's not good policy and it could actually do more harm than good. And I can paint you a picture of how that would work and how it's worked in the past, where we've tried to artificially hold prices down. Competition doesn't come in. People don't, like if beef is too high, people don't move the chicken. The competitors don't come in to undercut where the beef prices are. Nothing works when you try to artificially control prices. It's just a supply and demand issue. It's a flawed idea.
So did you have a question here?
Yes. Why would you propose a flawed idea when the real problem,
if
you really want to help the middle class, if you really sincerely want to help people having trouble at the grocery store, it's not price gouging that's the issue. And if you look at it seriously and really want to help them, then let's do something about it together. Fine.
Well, the reason why they are proposing this is because they believe that the American people are stupid, right? And that's the problem. The whole Democrat Party, they just operate based off ignorance, right? They just assume people are ignorant. And this is why they feel like they can get away with the gaslighting and the lying, because for the most part, they can, right? They really can. I mean, that's the honest to God truth. That's something that I have observed that, yeah, they can get away with it, okay? Because usually the media helps them get away with it. Now, this is the first time that I've seen the media, again, everybody outside of MSNBC, that is, MSNBC, they're not a real news network. I mean, they don't even try to be a news network. I believe like 85% of the content on that channel is actually like opinion, right? So I don't even think they're actually really a news network, to be quite honest with you. And everybody should stop acting like they are. They're not. They're strictly an opinion channel. They don't even spend money on news reporting, right? More so than just commentary. So again, their commentary channel, all the other channels that at least want to act like they're news, yeah, they've been covering this like crazy because Kamala hasn't talked that much. And the things that she has said about her policies, specifically when it comes to the economy, yeah, they're concerning people. She wants to spend $1.7 trillion more dollars as the feds move to decrease the interest rates, which could make inflation even worse. In fact, I know for certain that if you spend $1.7 trillion more dollars and decrease interest rates at the same time, that you will reignite inflation, and inflation may be worse than it was before. But this is what they're putting out there, okay? And in a world where the American people were economically literate, people would instantly reject Kamala Harris, right? There's no way that Kamala Harris could get 25% of support from the public in a world where people were properly educated, because people instantly would know that, okay, this is BS, right? You're blaming something that isn't happening. You don't have any evidence that it's happening, but you're saying that it's happening. And then now you are proposing legislation to try to fix a problem that's not really happening. And also, by the way, there's already legislation out there at the state level to solve this problem, just in case it becomes a problem. It's not a problem, but this is what they say, because again, they believe that people are stupid, that people are just going to fall for it. Oh, it's the greedy corporations. It wasn't the massive $1 trillion+ in spending that the Democrats did along with the lockdowns. No, that's not why we have inflation. It's the greedy corporations, right? That's what they're putting out there, because they believe that people are stupid. And hey, I got to be honest, there are a lot of stupid people out there that are buying this, that are saying, yeah, it is the greedy corporations, and it's not, right? So again, they can't come out here and tell the truth, because Democrats have no solution for the economy outside of more spending. They have no solutions whatsoever outside of that. And if they came out and they acknowledged that, hey, yeah, spending is the problem, then they wouldn't have any economic policy whatsoever, right? They wouldn't be able to propose anything, because all they know is spend, spend, spend. More government, more government, more government, when we need to be doing the exact opposite right now. That's exactly what should be happening.
I understand if you want to do a lecture about this, but let's just start with, where have you been for the last 30 years as 36 states have price gouging laws, and they have used them effectively? States like Texas and Florida, they've used price gouging laws. Price gouging laws are not price control. Price gouging laws are to say, sometimes markets go off the rails. And when they do, we need some ways to get them back on the rails. So
again, the question is, if a majority of states, I mean, she said, 3 dozen? So we're talking about 40 states, I believe, okay, between 30 and 40 states have price gouging laws. Why does there need to be federal legislation? Again, that's a question that everybody should be asking when you hear these people try to gaslight you and tell you that we need this legislation. See, this is what you call a Trojan horse, right? You present something as if it's harmless when it's not. Oh, well, we're just trying to do a federal ban on price gouging because this is such a big problem. While at the same time, these people are trying to justify it by saying, well, there are already laws against this at the state level, so therefore we should be doing it at the federal level. And it's like, no. If states are already taking care of the problem, if they're already taking care of the issue, then why does the federal government need to step in? Well, the real reason why is because they're not trying to deal with price gouging, right? No, what they want is price controls, right? They want communism, okay? This is what they actually want. And this is why people in the media, this is why people with common sense that are economically literate are so concerned about the proposals coming from the Democrats right now and the gaslighting, because everybody can see what this is. This is a Trojan horse.
Some curbs on that behavior. So, for example, we watched in the pandemic how prices went up for a whole lot of reasons. They went up partly because we had supply chain kinks, we had problems because of the war in Ukraine that cut supplies of certain commodities. And one of the things that happened as a result of that is there were corporations that said, whoa, now that we have inflation, now that prices are up overall, this is a great opportunity for us to raise prices, not just in passing along costs, but to go way, way, way above that. And how do we know that it was way, way above just passing along costs? look at what happened to their profit margins. If they'd just been passing along costs, profit margins would have stayed about the same. But for some industries, some companies, profit margins shot up. And do you know where they shot up most often? It was in companies or in industries where there was a lot of concentration, a lot of market power, places where the market is not functioning competitively. So you end up with someone, you remember we all talked about egg prices. You end up with something like this giant egg producer, Cal-Maine. And Cal-Maine raises the price of eggs. Their profit margins increased by 718%. That's not just passing along costs.
Senator,
and that is a time
that's sophistry. Your example on Kraft. Your example on Kraft is even worse.
You finished first. In any of the states around the country that already have price gouging laws in place.
Can I tell you why that those are fallacious and misleading at best? And your Kraft analogy is even. Why can't I tell you? Please let me tell you. Kraft, you say, was 440% profit increase. The example you used, the prior quarter from the year before, they had a charge of $1.3 billion, an accounting change which wiped out profits. Then they earned what they normally. Let me finish now. They earned.
You didn't let me finish. Look at the data. Come on. We have economic study now after economic study.
This is the way it always goes.
When there is more concentration,
40 million eggs were destroyed because of avian flu.
When there is more concentration in an industry, we have seen much greater increases in the profit margins.
Do you attribute the inflation? That's what you think we need to do to solve it?
They're not random. They are not random one-offs. It is part of the problem when you've got companies that are gouging consumers on prices. Consumers need to know they've got somebody on their side.
Senator,
and
listen, we're trying to help. We're trying to actually do.
Where are you in the 37 states that currently have price gouging laws?
Just quickly on that point, Senator Warren,
this is Kelly here. Can I just clarify how this would work?
This is the way you never lose an argument because no one can ever say anything back to you, Senator.
The state price.
Facts. I mean, that is what she's doing. She's trying to overrun the conversation and not let anybody rebut what she's saying, because what she's saying can easily be explained with just simple research, right? Like, for example, you would know that there was a massive bird flu outbreak that affected the stock and supply of eggs. So what happens when the supply for eggs or any commodity really goes down? Then guess what? Prices are going to skyrocket, right? Prices are going to go up. And that's what happened, along with the increase in prices when it comes to other things associated with eggs, like, for example, fuel, packaging, labor. All these things go into the price of eggs. Okay, so again, it's not just, hey, these companies are deciding that, we're just going to arbitrarily raise the price. That's not how it works. Also, Cal-Maine Foods, they're only like 20% of the U.S. egg producing market. So I wouldn't say that they have monopoly power. But if they had monopoly power, again, the solution would be through some type of antitrust action. But understand, these companies have been sued before, right? You've had egg companies be sued. For example, Letitia James sued Hillsdale Farms in New York. That lawsuit basically got dismissed. Texas tried to sue Cal-Maine Foods. Initially, that lawsuit got dismissed. However, I think it was reinstated because the court decided that there should be discovery, right? Not because they're actually guilty, but initially it was dismissed because it was like, okay, well, the price of eggs is determined by the market, right? And Cal-Maine Foods does not have the power to set the price of eggs in the market. And that's just kind of what it is, okay? But my point is that Democrats continue to make these claims with no real evidence at all, okay? There are no cases that they can point to, at least during a pandemic, in which, you have the companies that they're citing being found guilty, actually guilty of price gouging. But yet they keep repeating the same thing over and over again. And it's like, we already have mechanisms in place to deal with this problem. It's just that you guys can't point to any example of these companies actually being found guilty of price gouging to say that, hey, this is happening. But even if you could, the mechanisms are already in place to deal with the problem. So again, what is the legislation that's being proposed here by Kamala Harris? What is the problem that is being solved? Because we already have mechanisms in place to solve the problem.
Gouging laws they look at it when a state of emergency is declared, and they, for the most part, say if your prices go up 10 or 15% compared to before that state of emergency, you have to pay a fine. So on a national level, how exactly would this work? Would you define the state of emergency? Does it have to be declared on a national level? Are you then talking about a 10 or 15% increase in prices versus prior to that declaration, and then companies have to pay a fine? Okay, fine. Maybe that applies in 1% of the situations. But this legislation, which is still vague, is making it sound like something on the scale of broad price controls would be imposed, broadly speaking. So which of the two systems is it?
So it is not price controls. This is about when the market itself is not functioning. Sometimes markets don't function because there's been a localized emergency, a hurricane, a wildfire, flooding. And so in states that have these price gouging laws, they can come in and say, look, you can do some price increases, but if you're going above a certain level, you have to be able to justify it. You have to show that what you're doing is passing along costs.
Would it be company by company?
Senator, let's go back to cow main, because avian flu caused the destruction of 40 million eggs. They have 20% market share. They have 20%, but they don't control the market. It's like OPEC, or it's like oil. When oil prices go up for whatever reason, or they go down, when they go down, the price is set for oil. The reason that cow main made that money was because that's what happened to the price. The next quarter, they went down in half. They lost 50% of the profits from the last one. They don't set that price.
Amazing how Elizabeth Warren never mentions that, right? They don't mention that. They say, oh, well, profit went up significantly, therefore price gouging, right? But again, they don't understand this is how supply and demand works. Supply goes down, price goes up, profits will go up if the price, surpasses the associated cost. Okay, that is what happens. This is basic stuff. And then guess what happens? When the price goes down, when supply increases, guess what? Now they make less profit, right? They lose money, okay? Again, this is not, a hard thing to understand, right? But again, Elizabeth Warren thinks that people are dumb, right? That's what she thinks.
And neither do the Exxon does not set the price of oil. So when Exxon has $80 or $100 a barrel, yes, they make record profits. When there was a pandemic, their profits went to almost zero. Now,
yeah, I actually remember that. I actually remember that being a big deal under the Trump administration. Oil prices were so low that they were hurting the oil industry. And oil is a commodity just like eggs. So again, it's hard to have a monopoly or pricing power in a commodities market where you have a bunch of different players in the market, right? And the market is global for the most part. So yeah, I mean, it's what she's talking about here is just nonsense, right? It's just ignorance.
It's just the way it is. And to think that the government can decide when prices are too high or too low, the grocery chains have a 2% profit margin. How about Apple with 50% or 40%? How do you decide? This is not the government's place to do these things. It's a fool's errand. And it also is you're using it to divert the real cause of inflation over the last 4 years, which was because you had demand after the pandemic, which obviously, there was a lot because we reopened. And all of a sudden there's supply chain issues, and the demand is juiced by all the stimulus from the IRA and all the other spending that we did.
There have been many causes for inflation. We all understand that. That's why I started my answer in talking about this. But one of the causes of prices going up is that there are companies that have market dominance that have said, oh, this is a moment when everyone is talking about...
Okay, give me another. Name another one. Give me an instance. If you give me an instance.
Finish my argument here?
Okay, go ahead.
That they have gone on earnings calls and said over and over, inflation has been very, very good. Go listen to the earnings calls from the CEO of Chipotle, who says this is an opportunity not to pass along costs. This is an opportunity for us to raise prices beyond passing along costs and increase our profit margins. What the academic studies, I let you finish, what the academic studies show is that industry by industry, when you see more competition, which suggests more pricing power, what we saw is that profit margins went up. And that's the problem we've got, is that states have tools to deal with this locally. But right now, we want to make sure that the FTC has the tools to do it nationally, and that the states that don't have price gouging laws also have access to those same tools.
We have
in the same way that the FTC, for example, has tools to be able to deal with deceptive pricing and deceptive advertising. It should have the ability to deal with price gouging.
Senator,
it's just another tool in the toolbox to say we support
for a state of emergency. Is it for a state of emergency?
Senator,
that the whole point is to
companies learn how to do this?
I let you finish your argument.
Yeah, but I know, but now
did you invite me on
point.
here just to lecture to me?
No, I just want to ask you.
The whole point is to get markets that are more competitive. And that's
no, the whole point is to hand the Democrats and the government more power, right, over the market, which is what they really want, right? That's what the actual point is, okay? And she's not letting this dude respond because what she's saying is not factually correct, and she doesn't want him to respond and to basically fact check her, and that's just kind of what's happening here.
The job of the FTC. That's something state attorneys general work on. We just want to put one more tool in the toolbox when CEOs are going on the phone saying, boy, inflation is great because it gives us a chance to raise our prices.
It's not about diverting the attention away from the real issues that might actually help the middle class that you always talk about helping. For 40 years, companies didn't know how to price gouge until 3.5 years ago when President Biden was elected. Where was the price gouging? We had 40-year highs in inflation. Where was the price? They just learned how to do this 3.5 years ago?
No, the difference is prices were not going up. And as I said, prices started going up for a whole host of reasons. Prices went up because of the pandemic. Prices went up because of supply chain kinks. Prices went up because of the war in Ukraine. Prices were going up. And the difference is when they started going up sharply and people noticed, that some companies also noticed and said, you know, we could raise our prices just passing along costs. That's what you do in a competitive market.
This is not widespread,
some companies,
Senator. This is not widespread.
I let you finish. In some markets, what we've seen, in markets where there's less competition, that CEOs said we can do more than pass along costs. And you don't have to take my word for it. Do you listen to earnings calls?
I listen.
These guys have gotten on
the example you use for Kraft. The example you use for Kraft is totally fallacious. It's totally fallacious. You throw the numbers.
And you just want to keep talking. The earnings calls CEOs have gotten out. It's well documented, and they have said we can raise our prices far more than passing along costs, and said to their investors, we have a great future ahead of us
because not a monopoly.
Profit margins are going to increase.
Other companies come in. That's the way the system works.
In places where there's more concentration. That's the whole point. It makes your point. When markets are less competitive.
has only 20%.
Yeah. So Elizabeth Warren is she's ignorant, right? I mean, she's just playing propaganda here, right? And at some point people get tired of it, man. People just get upset with the Democrat Party and their gaslighting. I'm just trying to figure out why it took so long for them to actually get upset with the lies from the Democrats, right? They've been lying and gaslighting for the past 3 or 4 years, and now all of a sudden they got an issue with it. Maybe they went too far going full communist. I'm not entirely sure. I just find this to be fascinating. This is the big lie from Democrats, right? They're trying to take the blame off themselves for inflation and trying to put it on other people and companies. And it's just not going to work, right? It's not going to work. But hey, who knows? There are a lot of people in this country that are stupid, so it might work, but who knows? Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.